Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 222. So there's something currently big happening in the world of Hollywood and movie making that we would talk about this week, but we're kind of already late to the party because, as we were doing the podcast last week, like an hour or two after we were done recording, the writer's strike went into effect, and that's kind of been dominating everything else. And by that point, it's been a whole week. So we're not going to talk about the writer's strike as a news topic, but in a roundabout way, it's our main discussion this week. Writers are incredibly important to the filmmaking process. They are the foundation in which everything is based. If a movie is great, the writing usually has a hand in it. I will say not always, but usually. So this week, we want to honor the writers of movies and TVs. We're going to go with our personal picks for our favorite or best lines from movies and TV. And this is going to be a lot of random eclectic stuff, but it won't be your usual, I've got a bad feeling about this type of Star Wars stuff. It's going to be, at least for me, it was lines that stuck with me or lines that I think were really well written, lines that maybe just sit back and think about my own existence for a little bit after they were delivered in movies and TV and make me feel either happy or sad that I didn't come up with those lines first. But before we get into all that, Josh, how you doing tonight?
I am chilling like a villain, my dude. It has been a fantastic weekend, and now going into a somewhat busy week. So, lots of moving and grooving. Went to Chattanooga this past weekend for my birthday, and went to literally one of the coolest aquariums I think I've ever been to. Found a bookstore as always and bought more books. So yeah, man. And I saw there's this very little movie that's out. It's not a lot of people have seen this, but there's a lot of just a little movie that came out this past weekend that I got to see in IMAX, which was my first movie I've ever seen in IMAX. So there's that.
Really?
Yeah. So I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 this weekend in IMAX. And
opening weekend. It's been a while.
Yeah. That's a little odd for me. I don't see things opening weekend very often. Most of that's just timing and stuff. But saw that in theaters. What a movie, man! I know I'm a little bit more hot on it than you are. But that's also because
because very few people are hotter on it than you are.
That's fair.
It's because there's animals.
Not just that, but
there's animal people.
I think. I texted you this. I was trying to remember the last time in a Marvel movie that I was laughing and crying in the same kind of movie. I don't know if I've ever had a Marvel movie make me cry, let alone sob like this one did. So
really?
Yeah, I legit glasses off, hand over the mouth, and you know exactly what part I'm talking about too. So it literally I was. Yeah, such a good movie. It is some of the camera work threw me off just a little bit, but also some of the best camera work in Marvel history. I just love that movie a lot, honestly.
I think Josh loves this movie so much because it's the closest he'll ever get to a live action Redwall.
Okay, no. I see. Here's the thing. I think it is easy to write it off as that just because there are animals as main characters, but name a time when name a Marvel movie when the villain was as detestable as this one that I legit wanted him to eat rocks.
Okay. Odd verbiage there, but see, as much as I really like Chuck Moody's performance as a High Evolutionary, I put it in my own review, you can check it out on the channel here, of his performance is great, but I don't know if it's I wanted this villain dead because he's a good character or because they went with, in wrestling terms, cheap heat. The lowest, it's the easiest thing in the world to get you to hate this person for the actions in this movie. That doesn't make them compelling. The performance is great. It's still a great villain, but a lot of people are just it's the best villain ever. I'm going, yeah, because they slap him with the cheapest heat in the world. It's literally taking candy from a baby type of levels of easy heat for this guy.
Yeah.
So I think he's great, but I'm still kind of deciding do I think he's actually the best, or is it just because it's the easiest way for me to hate someone?
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair thing to bring up because there's a lot of things that a lot of lines, obviously, that they cross. This movie has a lot to say about, or poses a lot of questions when it comes to animal cruelty and stuff like that. Um, I think I would agree that it's cheap heat if it was one moment. I think because, like, that's the age old adage is if you want somebody to hate that, some people, audiences to hate your villain, have them kick a dog or something. Like, but like legitimately, I think the the reason I think to me he I hate him so much is not because it is one moment of him like obviously treating animals with a lot of I'm gonna use the word disrespect, but that's not what I want to say. But like
Ill intent.
ill intent. It is the whole movie, and it is not out of, well, I'm just angry and you happen to be here, or I'm having a bad day, so I kick you. It's quite literally just kind of like how Rocket sums it up, and the line is in the trailer. He didn't want to make things perfect. He just didn't like the way that things were. And it's just I think it says more about his character than it does anything else. I agree that they absolutely do, and I'll be the first to admit they do dabble in some cheap heat kind of territory, but I think the true heartbreak of the movie, I think, is that the things that truly broke Rocket were not necessarily something that he was directly responsible for, kind of technically.
But
So
blames
I mean,
himself for.
yeah, you know, yeah, but it's generally, I think, easily top five Marvel movies for me. Super good. I was very impressed with it.
Yeah, I
Obviously.
think by and large my family really enjoyed it. Not all of them were particularly high on it, and I think it's because of the really darker elements, because this is
That's fair.
definitely a very dark movie, especially if you're sensitive to certain things, especially animal treatment. But yeah, I thought it was good. I also watched Adam Sandler's Hustle on Netflix.
Really?
I don't know, I just needed a movie to have on in the background while I was working on stuff. It was a good time. Does it feel just like a really big advertisement for the NBA? Oh, absolutely. Just like draft day in 2016. Uh, it also is kind of weird because it'll have professional basketball players in there like Dr. J and Shaq
Mhm.
as Dr. J and Shaq. And then it'll have Kenny Smith as a character, not as Kenny Smith. I'm just going, but you're Kenny Smith.
Love it.
We know
Love
you're
it.
Kenny Smith. Don't try to pretend you're somebody else. We know you could have just been playing Kenny Smith this time. It's weird. Honestly, it's probably one of the best Adam Sandler performances I've ever seen. He's just like naturally likable and charismatic in this movie. And
Mhm.
again, told Heather this before. I believe I've said it on the podcast. You have a healthy marriage relationship in a movie, I'm gonna like it because
Mhm.
it's one of my biggest pet peeves movies is the husband and wife butt heads because that's what husband and wives do. I'm going, no, that's an old school boomer mentality. Like that's just
Yeah.
that's why, as much as it's a weird thing to say, the Sonic movies, I think, have one of the best representations
Oh,
of
dude,
marriage in a while. Of
fantastic.
like James Marsden and his wife, like always on the same page. They have good communication. It was the same thing with Adam Sandler and Queen Latifah. Ironically enough, like they're the husband and wife couple, which at first you're just like, that's an odd pairing, but they work really well together. It's a likable movie. I would watch it a few more times. It's not one of those like I need to rewatch it like a Moneyball, but I
Mhm.
was pleasantly surprised. Granted, it's just a gigantic advertisement for the NBA. Uh, Anything else you're reading or watching, Josh?
Reading wise, I just started The Revenant, the book that the movie is
The
based
book.
off of. And it is where how the movie kind of
Unbearable.
like the movie kind of like eases you into some stuff before getting to the bear attack, but no. The book is like, screw you, this is the reality of fur trappers in the Old West, get ready for it. It's very, very well written, which actually is the thing that I think is surprising me the most. Watching wise, I before I went to Chattanooga on May 4th, I watched seasons 1 and 2 of Visions. And I texted you a little bit about it because I understand that, like, technically speaking, um quote unquote, none of this is canon. Unless they do other stuff with it, which makes the Ronin from season 1 canon. It's weird. But there's some, just from an, if you just love animation, you love to see directors and artists just do their thing and try different things. This is absolutely a series that you would love. There is also some Star Wars ideas that they bring to the table that are just so unique and so interesting that it's kind of hard to believe that we haven't had them before. Like the one that still sticks out to me is the one I texted you about. There's this sabersmith that literally makes lightsabers that react to the force connection of the user. So, for example, in the scene, there's a Sith guy that has one. Jedi, then it's red in his hand. Jedi takes it from him using the Force, and when it lands in his hand, it turns green. It's just like really cool, like stuff like that. There's a character who like ignites one and doesn't necessarily have a strong Force connection, but has a good saber ability, and so like hers is like clear for a little bit, and then throughout the progression of the episode, she gains color. It was like, oh, it's just that's so cool, like stuff like that. I just wish we found other ways to bring into live action for Star Wars.
Huh. Interesting. Ready to get into the news, Josh?
Let's do it, buddy.
The past few weeks, it feels like we've been kind of low on movie news, but this week we've got a lot, and this one in particular makes me excited, but not the obvious part, not the part that I'm sure people are raging out about, because this is a multiple-parter, which it wasn't originally intended that way, but it is now. James Gunn has come out and said that, yes, there will be certain members of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast in Superman Legacy, his upcoming Superman movie that he's writing and directing. So, naturally, people just went into a tizzy just going, you're using the same actors over and over again. I'm like, guys, he's used the same actors for a lot of his career. But then again, so is every director. We're going to talk about Christopher Nolan here in a little bit. Once again, working with Cillian Murphy. But also, I think it's important to notice, he used a lot of actors that he worked with before, not from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like Ratcatcher from the Suicide Squad is in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Mild spoiler alert. She's the pink-skinned girl.
Really?
That's Daniela Melchior.
Huh. Okay, cool.
And then naturally you have Nathan Fillion because it's a James Gunn movie. You get Sean Gunn once again, but I guess he's a Guardians character. So, but he uses those characters sparingly. Like Josh was a perfect example, not even knowing that Danielle Melchior was in Guardians 3.
Yeah.
So I think he'll use these characters very sparingly. I have my picks for who some of them are. I don't think he's going to include everybody, but
no.
I've made a list of who I think would be perfect for certain characters, but there's another big part of this that makes me more excited. Because it's a late breaking development that happened over the weekend, and it was almost like an accidental thing of Chris Pratt jokingly said something, and James Gunn was like, yeah, that would be cool. And he's just like, wait, you actually are using that character? He's like, well, I guess now we can say it. Apparently James Gunn is using Krypto the Superdog in Superman Legacy, to which I stopped everything I was doing. I showed that to Heather, and we freaked the crap out. Because Krypto is the bestest boy in the world, and seeing how James Gunn treats animals, as we talked about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 already, he treats animals well. Just look at Cosmo. Cosmo is the bestest girl ever.
Oh my gosh.
Cosmo is the best.
One of the best side plots of the movie. I love that so much.
I've loved the character of Krypto for a while. It's just one of those like under the radar characters that you don't need for Superman. But I think it was Nando V Movies that brought up a really good point of the red trunks matter for a lot of people because the red trunks are symbolic of, if you get that seemingly insignificant minor detail right, then that means you care about the bigger picture and the bigger concepts. I think Krypto's a lot like the trunks of, if you care and want to put in the little details, it means you're putting in the time and effort to get the big details right. Also, heaven forbid, Clark's allowed to have a friend with him. And also, I think it was 3C Films.
A friend that's not in mortal danger all the time.
Yeah, a friend that could be just fine being thrown through a wall. They'll kill you for it.
Yes.
Also, I think it was 3C Films that pointed out that, I don't know if you've read it yet, Josh, but Krypto plays a pretty decent role in the Supergirl comic arc, which is also getting adapted into a movie.
Yeah. I have it right there on my TBR list. I'm getting to it. But yeah, it's super cool. There's a lot of where do I start with this? Because I think the idea that the Guardians cast could be in Superman, or some of the Guardians cast could be in in Superman Legacy, could be a lot of fun. Honestly, there's a lot of who's it? Karen, and I always forget her name. The lady that plays Mantis.
Pom Klementieff.
They have both been on record as saying like they just love working with Gunn. They love because of the way he directs and kind of gives them direction and stuff like that, which says a lot about a director. And to a certain effect, like that's why certain actors come back to Christopher Nolan or Wes Anderson, because they love working with him and they love that style. And I don't see that as any different with James Gunn. I definitely have some people that I would love to be certain characters, and we'll cross that boat if we ever get there.
We're getting there.
Yeah, the idea that like he's taking Krypto seriously and being like, yo, yeah, like why wouldn't we bring Krypto in is perfect. I love it. Super excited. It shows me at least that because I don't really care about the rest of the DC fandom and their opinions, whatever, just make these movies for me, I guess. But like you said, James seems to understand that when it comes to these quote unquote godlike characters like Superman, getting these small details right makes all the difference. It's the difference between having a character that is unlikable, kind of you don't want to cheer for them, and doing those small details and making it so that like why wouldn't I cheer for this guy? Like this is Superman. Like I feel like he'd come to my barbecue if I invited him, kind of situation. So like, yeah, super down. Let's I'm very curious to see if that means that Krypto like stays at the Fortress of Solitude like he does sometimes.
I would love an
or
actual
like
good Fortress of Solitude. I would love an actual functioning fortress.
Also that. Yes. Which honestly I wouldn't be surprised if James gives us that in the first go. So
I absolutely think it. And I get what Zack Snyder's going for of just like his ship and whatnot, but the fact that the ship was in the middle of the city, Superman needs a place away from it all. That's the point of the Fortress of Solitude.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Krypto. It just makes me happy because now we can actually have Krypto being used in a good context in this situation. And now you get a whole bunch of older people who go, "What's a Krypto? My grandson tells me about this."
It's the Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's that thing. But I went ahead and looked at the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, and not everyone that was cast in this movie do I think is in it, or I could think of someone for it. But there's a handful of people that I was like, you know what? These would be perfect roles for these characters in Superman Legacy. So first up, Dave Bautista with the most obscure, deep-cut character on this list today. And I don't care because it's the type of thing James Gunn would do. I think Dave Bautista would be perfect for a character called Bibbo Babowski.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know who that is, Josh?
No clue whatsoever. I am the mainstream audience when they said Thanos. I have no clue who that is.
So Bibbo Babowski, one, has the most fun name in all of comics
that is so cool.
Bibbo Babowski is this like big, huge, hulking guy that runs his own bar that is like a popular hangout spot for Metropolis people, who's also like Superman's biggest fanboy. So he was first introduced in the Death of Superman comic arc, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was before that. But basically, he's like if Jimmy Olsen was an adult man bodybuilder who's like just super good friends with everybody. He looks up to Superman, just jacked out of his mind. And also people are like, Batista would be great as Bane. I kind of just want him as like the nice friendly presence that he can be. It would be completely out of left field because everyone's expecting this thing. And we're like, no. Let him be a Superman fanboy. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, it could be a lot of fun, yeah.
Sean Gunn just because of his previous work, I want Sean Gunn to be the motion capture for Parasite. Because
yeah, I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that at all.
Because he did the motion capture for Rocket, and also James Gunn could just be like, oh yeah, I turned my brother into a parasite. Lifelong dream.
He's always sucking the life out of my productions anyway.
Yep. I guess you could say he's a son of a gun.
Oh, get out.
Then I have Karen Gillan, also known as Nebula. I think she'd be perfect as Lana Lang, depending on the age of our Superman.
Behind that. Yeah.
Because Lana's kind of weird. Karen's known for her bright orange hair. Lana's hair has changed colors many a times. Annette O'Toole was redhead in Superman 3. Then Kristen Curick was black hair in Smallville. And I believe in most of the comics she's black hair, but she's kind of non-determinate. Also, I just need Karen Gillan and more stuff. I know she's lobbying for Poison Ivy, which I also will not complain about.
I do not hate that idea.
No. Then we get Pom Klementieff, who is Mantis. It might be a little soon because we just saw this character recently. We'll see this character again in The Flash. But I think she'd be great as Feora, General Zod's second in command.
Okay. Yeah.
Let her be a bad guy. Let her have fun with that. I know some people could be like, okay, but she was in the Suicide Squad. I'm going, in a blink and you'll miss it moment. No one's going to care about that.
I like that idea. I also kind of like the idea of her being, I think it's Mercy or the Lex Luthor's
Mercy Graves
bodyguard.
Would be great. Yeah, Mercy Graves.
Yeah, that could be so much fun.
I like that. Gosh. I also put her up for consideration for Lana Lang too.
Yeah.
Lana is malleable. You can kind of do whatever there. This is the other one, like Batista, that I'm just like, I don't care. I need this to happen. Michael Rooker needs to be Perry White, the head of the Daily Planet, because grumpy old curmudgeon. That's just Michael.
I don't hate that at all.
That's just Michael Rooker in a nutshell. Also, I saw this floating around on Twitter, and I kind of completely agree. I can completely see James Gunn making Michael Rooker say "Great Caesar's Ghost" on camera, and if that happens, I need a couple Great Caesar's Ghosts to be in this movie, please.
It's that. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because if you can get Michael Rooker to say "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all" on screen, like, yeah. I don't think he'd be. He would be against saying "Great Caesar's Ghost."
My last two. Chris Pratt's got to be here somewhere because everyone's biggest fear is he's going to cast Chris Pratt as Superman, even though he's openly said no.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Chris Pratt a douchebag in this movie. I think
so like real life, got it. Right.
From everything we've heard, he's not a bad guy. He's just overexposed in everything now.
Yeah.
No, I think he'd be great playing
he's
against
the
type.
He's the Nickelback of actors right now.
Kind of is.
I hate it because like I do have like there's like this like monkey in the back of my brain that loves Nickelback, and so like I've like anytime a Nickelback song comes on, it's like, yeah, man, I was like, I hate this song. This is Nickelback. Screw that. Blah blah blah. And then by the end of the song, I'm like, yeah, like singing along.
It's really
Chris
not
Pratt
that bad.
is definitely that guy.
Nah, Chris Pratt. I want him to play against type and play someone completely different than what audiences are used to him. So I want him to play the douchebag Steve Lombard, who works at the Daily Planet. That's always hitting on interns, like that skeezy, like douchebag alpha male. I kind of really want that to be Chris Pratt.
You are pulling some deep cuts for these like this, but like again, this is James Gunn we're talking about. So like I guarantee like these characters are. He's already like, okay, who I need somebody to play that person. I need some like, yeah, that's definitely in his train of thought.
Now, by and large, I've stuck to bit parts, but last I'm going to go for a big one here because I think Bradley Cooper would be perfect as Lex Luthor.
Ooh.
Because I want the approach of the only people that see Lex as anything bad are the people that work at the Daily Planet. Everyone else in Metropolis loves this guy and seems to think that Lex is the greatest and most kind human in the world. Everyone loves Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper has this charm to him that I can absolutely see for Lex. I don't think that he's going this route at all. But if we're sticking with you have to use Guardians actors in your Superman movie, I think Bradley Cooper could be a skeezing scumbag that portrays himself as a good guy really, really well. I kind of want a Lex with a lot of charm and a lot of charisma. Not full on Michael Rosenbaum, because that's his own incarnation. Fun fact, Michael Rosenbaum is also in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But yeah, I see Bradley Cooper as a really good Lex. They won't go that route, but I think it could be fun.
I kind of want that a lot now. Like, I want more Bradley Cooper. Like, big fan of Silver Linings Playbook. So I know he can play subtle.
What was that cooking movie he did?
Burn or Burnt. Yeah. He can do. The acting ability is absolutely there. So why not? Absolutely, get him to be Lex Luthor. Palma's Mercy, I think, is my main one.
I like that one
better. Just her, especially if they go the route where Mercy has like robotic arms and stuff like that, where that she can turn into guns and that'd be so cool. I'd be so down for that.
Next up, we have our first trailer for Dune. Why this didn't debut at CinemaCon or like released at the same time as the CinemaCon footage, I have no idea. But we have our first look at Dune 2 or Dune Part 2. And I'll be straight up, this is just a direct response to all those people that are saying the first Dune was kind of boring, i.e. me. I'll openly acknowledge I thought the first Dune was very dull and absolutely just setting the stage. Like, it was still entertaining. I do think it left off in a really weird spot, and all the book nerds are going, but it's the perfect place to leave off according to the book. I'm going, we're not looking at this as a book. We're looking at this as a 2-part movie, and I thought it was a weird way to end the first movie. First one was fine. I know Josh was much higher on it than I was. That being said, dude, this trailer is so cool.
It's so stinking cool.
I'm already seeing some criticism from some diehard Dune fans of just like, well, this character is represented weird. Particularly Austin Butler's character. They're just like, why does he kind of look like everyone else? He's not handsome enough. Supposedly that character is supposed to be like the really, really good looking, like deceptively evil type character, as opposed to every other Harkonnen in the movie. Which made sense why they cast Austin Butler. Just like, yes, he seems like a nice, handsome young fellow, and then he'll bust out his Elvis accent and you'll wish he was never been born. And then he can't ditch the accent, apparently, because Elvis is always with him.
That is okay. As someone who grew up in the South, it is really hard. It just sneaks up on you. There's not much you can do about it. I love this trailer. Like, literally, like, I think I saw it once and was like sat there in my chair, like, what? Okay, well, and then like watched it like 3 more times. Like, I'm super I definitely am more hyped on the first one than you are. It's in like my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Love it. But this was like, gosh, dude, it's gonna be so cool. Like, the battles are gonna be bigger. I'm so excited to see where we go, because I've intentionally not read the book, even though I
was gonna ask you if you've read the book.
Yeah, I have. I have 2 copies of Dune,
and you haven't read either one.
Yeah, okay. I just got the second one, but the first copy I got.
The second one's Messiah, right?
Yeah. No, sorry. I like the second copy, because so the first copy I got is a really, really nice, beautiful copy. And I was like, I don't want to ruin like the shape of the book by reading it. And so I literally this weekend bought another copy so that I can read it and then read the rest of the series. But I, as someone who's not read the books, and I've intentionally done so, I'm going to hold off reading Dune until at least the end of this movie, just so I can go in surprised. It's kind of funny watching, at least to me, watching Dune book diehard people being like, well, actually, it's like, guys, like, this, I understand this is your time in the sun, but like, and I understand Dune is like a pretty big deal in the sci-fi book space, but chill out. Like, it doesn't look any cooler than like Star Trek people being like, well, actually, like, stop. Stop.
Except unlike Star Trek, this movie was actually profitable.
Well, also true.
Primarily because it had a big enough budget and was able to compensate for it. I love the new Star Trek movies, but you do not need to make them as expensive as you did. Dune fans, like any other sci-fi fans, can be a bit picky. I just really wish the internet was around when that first Dune movie came out. To
Dude.
just see them complain about that, just going, what is this? Because I see clips from that original movie and going, what is this? Like,
Yes.
it looks like interesting choices. And from everything we heard, that production was just a nightmare. But yeah, this gives me just enough of a tease. Like, it kind of gives me some idea, but not enough, which I think is a good thing. I don't need to know the whole story. It's not like, what was it, that George Foreman movie that's coming out that literally just gives you the entire
Gives you the
movie.
whole plot, yeah.
I'm just going, this movie actually doesn't look that bad, but I feel like I just watched the entire movie.
Yeah.
But this seems vague enough. It gives you some teases of like, yes, Josh Brolin is still alive. I'm going, cool. Thanks for answering that, because he does just kind of disappear in the first one.
Yes, he does.
But maybe it's just because I remember some of the castings, but then we cover a lot of movie news. Some of it just goes in one ear and out the other, and I kind of forget about it after a week. I'm so glad that they continued the trend of just casting the best possible people that they can find, like they did with the first one. In addition to the great cast we had for the first one, minus, Oscar Isaac. Bye!
Poor guy.
You get Florence Pugh. She's so hot right now. You get, honestly...
Literally.
Yes. You get probably one of the more underrated actresses working today with Lea Seydoux, who was in the James Bond movies. She was in one of the Mission Impossible movies. She's been everywhere. And then you get Austin Butler in this movie. I feel like there's some other characters that I was like...
It's okay. So funny story. I'm literally just now putting the pieces together that that character is Austin Butler, is played by Austin Butler. I did. It was one of those, I saw him and was like, I know that face from somewhere. Where do I know that face?
Austin and Alley.
Yeah, now that you were like Austin Butler, I was like, oh yeah, that is him. Okay, cool. So to me, I think that says a lot that I didn't initially like go, oh yeah, that's Austin. Just kind of like, there is hard as it is to have characters in this world. It's nice that we can have people who are like fairly common names right now, and not into, at least to me, and not go right off the bat go, oh, that's that guy, that's that person. So no matter what you say, like, Dune Part 2 is going to be so hype.
So we moved from one big trailer to like a trailer that dropped like a day after the Dune 2 trailer, and boy, I'm sure the trailer company was really hoping they could have released before the Dune one, because maybe it's just because all the memes are around the Barbie movie instead, or maybe just because the Dune trailer was better. I saw zero hype for this trailer after it dropped. Like, no one was talking about it. No one was really sharing it. I saw barely on any of my socials after it dropped for the new Christopher Nolan movie, Oppenheimer. And all right, let's just get it out of the way now. If no one's talking about it, this movie is going to bomb. Yay. Like, I just love this movie's more for the memes than anything else, but not in a good way. Like, I genuinely think Barbie's gonna make more money. So this movie has a ridiculously stacked cast, but from the get-go, I've never really been interested in the story of this movie. I'm just like, cool, the guy that built the atomic bomb. Okay. Like, I don't know. I thought, okay, Nolan could tell good stories, or at least before Inception he could. And then after that, everything's just kind of been fine. Like, let's face it, people. Nolan is not the name that he used to be. Dark Knight Rises, Josh's all-time favorite movie.
I will smack my head into a pencil.
No, that's The Dark Knight.
Yeah, my bad.
Dark Knight Rises. Flawed, but it was not his best. Interstellar, flawed, but not his best. Dunkirk, flawed, but better than the previous two, but still not his best. Tenet, some people would make the case that that's his worst movie yet. So, like, that's kind of been his post-Inception track record. Has he peaked? I won't go that far, but I needed this trailer to be amazing to win me over as to why I should see this as opposed to Barbie opening weekend, or why I should care about this movie besides it having a stacked cast. And I'll be honest, the trailer does not do that for me. This trailer is kind of bland. It kind of seems like the perfect Father's Day movie, if that makes sense, of like, an inferior version of like the Founder or Ford v Ferrari of a movie you'll take your dad to see one week and they'll be like, ah, yes, I saw the special on the History Channel once. I'm glad to see they're making a movie of it. Like,
Yeah.
I get that the cast is stacked, but it doesn't look as interesting as it potentially could be. And also, hokey isn't usually a word that I throw around Christopher Nolan movies, but there's absolutely a spot in this trailer that I audibly went, oh, that comes across a little hokey. And it's when Cillian Murphy and Matt Damon are talking to one of the scientists, and Matt Damon's like, we're talking about the end of the world. And I'm going, I don't know if that was a Matt Damon call or a Christopher Nolan call, but that line delivery came off so wonky. And then you get the whole like pretentious, some of this is going to take place in black and white and some of this is going to be in color. I'm going,
Cool.
just why, man? Josh, were you higher on this movie trailer than I was?
Nah, dude, not at all. Like I know it's our job to talk about, these trailers, but gosh, man, like you said, so bland, so I it's really tough because in general, making a movie about the guy that quote unquote the guy that makes the atomic bomb, it's even though it's a team of people,
Exactly.
At the height of the World War, that is a very tough topic to talk about in general. It's like kind of, it's why I'm always uncomfortable about around Holocaust movies. Like it's a tough topic to bring up because it's an actual event. Now, I hear you people. Yes, guys, that's what film does. That is what cinema does. It's like, okay, whatever. But like, it has these important conversations about these tough topics. I get it. However, when you're talking about a bomb that legitimately decimated an entire country, when you're talking about an event in history that, yes, changed everything, and some would argue not for the better, and then you're going to show this trailer and have no one questioning the morality of anything, and they're just like, nah, dog, we're just going to make a bomb that kills millions of people because war, because it's the end of the world, blah blah. And like, I wish, and maybe this is definitely like a level of hindsight's 2020 when it comes to history, and some maybe some revisionist history maybe happening in my mind, but like, I wish that this movie at least has and maybe, you know what, that's what it is. That's what makes this trailer strike no notes whatsoever, is it does feel like a documentary that you would see on Netflix. It does feel like something that is just reporting the facts. It has no actual conversation to have with the audience. There's no moral question. There's no ethical question, nothing. It's just, hey, this is what happened. Isn't that cool, guys? And I don't want to go sit in a theater and see that for, what he
3
dropped
hours.
For 3 hours, dog. I will sit on my couch and watch it if I watch this movie.
Here's the thing. It's just an issue that's kind of always followed Christopher Nolan's career. It first started as a joke, but then as movies progressed, people kind of noticed this trend. And then I noticed it post the Dark Knight trilogy, and it still factors into the Dark Knight trilogy, but not as much. Christopher Nolan, I think, struggles with protagonists that you will care about. Almost all of his protagonists are some like emotionally cold and distant character that doesn't always reflect on the morality of the situation. That's kind of why Batman was perfect for him, because it's an emotionally cold and distant character that's very black and white. But as great as Inception is, Cobb is not necessarily, I would think, the most interesting character to me. Like, Leo puts a really great performance in there, but fundamentally the character doesn't have a lot of depth to him, I don't think.
Agreed.
Again, Matthew McConaughey, great performance. I don't think that character is necessarily the most interesting. Heaven forbid, Tenet literally has the character's name, the protagonist. Like, I think that kind of shows you where Christopher Nolan's mindset is, of just, I'm going to put my self-insert character. I mean, this character that I've written into the story here, because Christopher Nolan plays an emotionally distant character that's trying to get back to his family. Interesting. That always has an estranged relationship with their spouse character. Interesting. Yeah. That's the thing. There's no anchor here. There's no character that I feel like I'll gravitate towards or care. Like Cillian Murphy, who is a phenomenal and one of the most underrated actors working today. He never puts a bad performance. I feel like he just doesn't, not Cillian Murphy, but the character of Robert Oppenheimer just doesn't care in this movie. Like, it's just whatever. Like, I don't get the sense that any character in this I will gravitate towards or care about. And who knows, maybe it's just this trailer. Maybe we're being too harsh on it. But I've been on the fence for a while about this movie, and I think Paramount really wants this movie to do well, because this is the first movie that Paramount has worked with Christopher Nolan after his very public breakup with Warner Brothers. They really want this deal to pay off for them. We joke, I don't want this movie to bomb, but it actually genuinely might get blown away by Barbie.
I mean, yeah, but like, and I hate that. Now there will be this discourse between the two films. Now there's going to be like, well, obviously people just like seeing popcorn films over popcorn movies as opposed to films and cinema. It's like, I don't think that's the conversation here. Barbie just seems to have a mass appeal, be a more, it seems like it's going to be more entertaining, and Oppenheimer, especially after this first trailer, doesn't seem to have anything interesting to say.
Next up, we get some very interesting casting that I was never going to guess in a million years. But we have found our Johnny Cage for Mortal Kombat 2 in Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Dread, Red, and many other projects, Pitch Black, his crowning achievement, Pitch Black, Karl Urban. And y'all, I was stunned when I saw this, primarily because Karl Urban has never been like the biggest name actor in the world. I always joke that he's the forever bridesmaid but never a bride, of like he can never kind of get the starring role and stuff, but when he does, he's phenomenal in it. Dread is amazing. But I thought he would be out of the price range for the Mortal Kombat sequel, just because the first one, while I didn't love it, it was clearly a mid to lower budget movie. Like, the effects and everything still looked great, but in terms of the actual cast, they clearly did not spend the money on the cast because they went with lesser known people that they could put more of the budget to the special effects. So I didn't think Karl Urban at all for Johnny Cage, because I figured that would be out of their price point. It's why I was on the cast The Miz for Johnny Cage train for so long. One, because The Miz is just Johnny Cage in WWE. He's an okay actor, but he's that character to a T. But also, you can get him for cheap. And I figured that's what they're going with. And if you didn't get The Miz, apparently Cody Rhodes was also auditioning for that role.
Which I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all, actually.
Yeah, I think he could be a good Johnny Cage too. He's probably a better actor than The Miz, but Miz
probably
plays a better douche. But that being said, I'm not complaining about this in the slightest, because Karl Urban, you put Karl Urban in just about anything and I will see it. I watched all of Almost Human on Fox. Thanks, Fox, for canceling it after one season. That show was surprisingly good. I'm just more baffled at going, oh, you're actually spending money on legit actors this time, because so many people were casting like a Ryan Reynolds or a Liam Hemsworth in this role. I'm going, y'all, they don't have infinite cash.
Yeah.
Karl Urban was probably going to be the most recognizable name in this. But that's the point that I've seen some people bring up, and it's an interesting point to discuss. Karl Urban isn't inherently young anymore. And Johnny Cage typically is like an early 30s douchebag, like an alpha male. So is this like an older Johnny Cage, and we might get some younger, like we have gotten in, what was it, Mortal Kombat 10, Mortal Kombat 11? One of them we get like an older and a younger Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're going with an older actor. As much as The Miz is like late 30s, early 40s, he still has a young, punchable looking face. So I think The Miz could still work. I think Karl Urban's great. Just shocked more than anything else at this casting, though.
Yeah. No, I to me, I think it's tells me that they are going to try to do something a little different with Mortal Kombat 2. I think, if anything, they learned some lessons maybe from the first one.
Make it an actual
They,
tournament this time?
yeah, I'd do an actual tournament, but like, it also makes more sense for a, how do you say this, a actor who is kind of not as big as he used to be more willing to, hey, if I was given an opportunity to quote unquote get back in the spotlight, yeah, then I'm gonna take that. So I can totally see him as an older Johnny Cage, Karl Urban presenting this like character who, you know, was in the spotlight for so long. He was at the top of the game. He was, you know, highly sought after as an actor, as an action star for so much of his life, but he is no longer in that part of his life. And so the tournament looks more like a something, much less like, oh, this will be something to do, but much more of a, almost, I want to use the phrase like redemption, but like, yeah, like, hey, I want to see if I still got it. Like, to me, that makes more sense than having like a young Johnny Cage who's at the top of his game.
Well, it also works because, and here's where you get our, once again, our 6 degrees of movie separation.
Yeah.
It could be, you said redemption, like the Raid redemption, or as the Americans call it, Dread. I'm sorry, they came out around the same time, and no, Dread did not steal from the Raid redemption. It actually went into production before the Raid redemption, but everyone always
they
makes
also are movies from two separate sides of the planet. Like, so there's that, I guess. But no, I think this is a great choice. Anytime you can give me more Karl Urban, I'm here for it.
I've seen some people kind of say, but Sonya Blade is so much younger than Karl Urban, to which I kind of agree, because Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade always have some form of on again, off again relationship in the games. I'm not going to pretend to be a Mortal Kombat expert. I've played enough of the games, but Heather might actually know more than I do when it comes to Mortal Kombat. I do think it's interesting. It's, yeah, again, I'm still just kind of sitting back going, you did it. You guys actually did it. You got an actor I've heard of. And I mean, I've heard of some of the guys that they got for like Sub-Zero and Scorpion in the last movie, which just give those guys more time. Don't give, what's his stupid douche face? Who's the guy that didn't actually need to be in the movie at all? The audience stand-in. Can we just kill him in the opening round by having Goro rip his arms off for revenge? Like, we don't need him. You could have just had a different character that is an actual Mortal Kombat character. Like, I was about to say, the one from the original movie that was kind of our audience stand-in, but then they'd just be repeating the original movie. Just bring in more of the characters from the game and utilize them a little better. And make it an actual tournament. That's all, really. Your fights were good, but you could have used more of them and more fatalities. I want my carnage and blood, please.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat should be rated R. I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be. Outside of like, oh, we want to sell this to more people. Okay, cool. But like, also the audience that played the games, that's the reason they played the games. So whatever.
Lastly, for our news this week, a surprise to be sure, but I think a welcome one, I think. And that is that we're getting another new Blair Witch movie. Now, whether this is a continuation or a reboot, I'm not entirely sure, but Josh and I have a bit of a complicated history when it comes to the Blair Witch as a franchise. The first one I saw was the reboot, the 2016 version, just called Blair Witch. By and large, I think it's just a slightly below average, just kind of okay found footage movie until you get to the last 20 minutes, in which case you were absolutely crapping yourself the entire time. That is genuinely one of the few times that a horror finale nails it. I think a lot of times horror movies, the first 2/3 are scary, and then they kind of like overdo the scares and trying to make this big epic finale that the last third of a horror movie ends up not being as scary as the rest of the movie, because that's where your conclusion is. You have to wrap stuff up and actually have to focus on the story. But no, the Blair Witch is the exact opposite. It's the most terrifying at the end. Then I went back and watched the original one from 1999, which definitely I think does scare me, but not for the reasons that you would think. Like, it's supposed to be like paranoia and whatnot of like the Blair Witch is out there somewhere. That doesn't scare me at all. It's these characters slowly losing their minds and not knowing where they are, and the sense of dread and feeling utterly and hopelessly lost in the middle of nowhere. That I felt that tension and stress. That was actually scary. And then an often overlooked aspect was the Blair Witch video game that supposedly was pretty good. I have not played that, but I've heard both good and bad things about it. So I think there's a lot of potential here, whether it's a continuation of the 2016 one, or heaven forbid it's a reboot of Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows. You know, that movie that only diehard horror fans and people that watch film, quote unquote, criticism on YouTube are familiar with. As a person that's more casual to Blair Witch, are you excited for more? Or are you just kind of whatever here, Josh?
I think I like the idea of Blair Witch. I really do. I love there is like a kind of a niche love I do have for found footage. I think if done correctly can be very compelling and pretty terrifying, honestly. The 2016 Blair Witch was my first interaction with that as well, and I also I felt like it built okay, and then that last 20-30 minutes is absolutely terrifying, and some still to this day some of the scariest stuff I've seen in film, without actually also seeing much either, which is really, really interesting as well. As far as if this is a sequel or a remake or whatever, I'm fine with it. Like Blair Witch, I think it is a very interesting character, and I feel like there's got to be like some better ways to tell that story and to make the build better. Because I mean, I don't think. I think the question I'd ask you is: do you want to have this still as a found footage? Do you try to change it a bit and do it as a more quote unquote traditional horror movie, or like do you just give it to a really, really competent director and go the found footage route?
So found footage is tricky because the biggest issue with found footage, I think, is explaining why it's found footage.
Yes.
And very few movies actually do it successfully. Like, I think The Visit, surprisingly, does it well of, hey, I'm a film student. I want to film everything. Okay. Same thing with Blair Witch, actually. Now I think about it, the original probably did it first. What I would do with this, and I really do want another one, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting some ideas for it. Kind of follow the template that you did for the game. You don't really need a big cast for this. Just have like one, maybe three people, just like the original. Better yet, make it only one person, and sporadic other characters occasionally show up and you don't know if they're real or not. But there's a fan film that I will always go back to of more movies should be like this. It's a Friday the 13th fan film called Never Hike Alone. Basically, it's a quasi found footage / somewhat actually shot like dude that is supposed to be an outdoor backpacking and outdoorsy type of vlogger, and he accidentally stumbles upon Camp Crystal Lake and he has to like basically survive Jason. And honestly, it's the best Friday the 13th movie that they've ever made. It's so good. I would kind of do the exact same thing except put Blair Witch in it, of like maybe one person or a group of people are just like, we're gonna go backpacking a la The Ritual. Maybe they're going out to escape, or like the Evil Dead remake, we're going up to the woods to cleanse the system of like detox type of thing, and then do it like the Evil Dead of, because you're in withdrawal, is this real, am I losing my mind, or is it actually the witch? I think there's some interesting stories to tell here. I would keep it found footage just because found footage, the way we're able to shoot stuff has drastically improved over the years with like handheld cameras and GoPros and whatnot. And also, people I think have gotten better at how to do found footage. There's that great one last year called Deadstream. It's a horror comedy, but that still was incredibly effective with its scares and its humor. I think we've only gotten better with how to shoot stuff for found footage, and I think there's still enough gas in the tank here, and there's enough brand recognition to tell more Blair Witch stories. So I would take it back to the original roots of only have a couple characters. Never fully show the witch. Don't make this an origin of the Blair Witch type of story. just call it The Blair Witch. Just The Blair Witch? No. I know the other one was called what? Blair Witch Project or just Blair Witch? Just call this one The Blair Witch. And have the balls to make it a prequel like The Vavitch. But it's found footage. It's not found footage, but it's like POV type, but set in like the 1920s or 30s, sometime earlier.
Ooh. Maybe like the first time that she kills.
No technology like whatsoever.
That. Yeah, no technology and all that. That could be really, really interesting. And like I like that found footage is capable of being really, really good. As Above, So Below is one of my favorite horror movies. Does found footage really, really well. I can see it. I'm okay with it still being modern. I do think going the direction that the game does would be very, very, very smart. Having it this guy who's going through a lot, he is helping people search for this girl who's lost in the woods, and then he gets caught by the witch and gets, his brain starts changing and stuff like that. So like I think there's a lot of interesting ways to go to fold the story in. I don't think you need to go all the way to do a prequel. I don't think you need to I definitely think you don't need to do a remake.
As per usual, this week's episode is sponsored by TeePublic, your one-stop shop for all things Uncharted Media merch, whether it's t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, stickers, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo or other fantastic designs. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe us on YouTube. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Now, let's talk best movie lines. And we're talking both movies and TV, primarily because we have like a couple TV ones that we're just like, we have to throw these into the honorable mentions category here. We also tried to avoid the usual stuff of like, I asked you guys on our socials of like, what's your favorite movie quote? I'm pretty sure none of those are ones we'll talk about here.
Yeah, probably not.
And we're not trying to be like, oh, we're trying to be hipsters. It's just like, these are the ones that stood out to us the most. And we're trying to make this discussion in honoring of the writers that create this stuff as, they need to actually be paid well. So this is more of an acknowledgement of the lines themselves being good. So I kind of tended to focus on how well the line is written and the context in which it's presented, as opposed to just how iconic are they. Like, did these lines really stick in my brain? And by and large, I try to stick to like one-off lines, not like full-on monologues, but I do have one or two actual speeches. But by and large, I try to stick to like not quips, but 1 to 2 sentence type things.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I think I tried to stay away from full monologues. Oh, there's going to be a couple.
We have done that episode.
Yeah, that there will be 1 or 2 that I bring up. That's it's going to be hard to not talk about that particular monologue in this context. But yeah, I tried to stay away from like one-liners like "May the Force be with you." Cool, it's a cool line, but really has no real context, so it's just kind of like a "see you later" or a "hi, hello," whatever kind of sentence. So I also kind of tried to have stuff that has a lot of meaning, stuff that has stuck with me. There's a few that I'll bring up because of their place in society.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have some that are only on my list because of how frequently they're either said within my family or my day-to-day life of just going, this is an indelible mark. So I have 3 TV ones and then a whole bunch of movie ones. Like, I don't have a ton of TV. Do you have more TV than movie stuff?
No.
Is it about like a 50-50 split? What is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty 50-50 split. I mean, because like you know me, man. Like I've got one from Scrubs, one from MASH. I've got a handful of West Wing, and of course a handful of Fleabag ones as well. When it comes to the TV.
All right, then since you got more TV, you kick us off then.
Okay. Scrubs, for you, both you and I, Scrubs is one of our favorite TV shows of all time.
It's a shame we never got a season 9.
So anyway, it is really, really hard to to go in and pick a quote from the entire show. There's a lot of really, really good ones. There's a lot of really, really good jokes. The one I picked just to kind of have it, I saw it and was like, was filled with memories of a lot of jokes. It's the scene where they're looking at X-rays and there's that light bulb in the kid's butt, and Dr. Cox is like, either this kid has a light bulb up his butt, or his cola's got a great idea. Like that's it's
such
so
a good line that they put it in like all the advertisements because they knew it was a good line.
It's such a good line, and that show in general is littered with lines like that are just chef's kiss. So good.
Let's see. There's a lot. Yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of Scrubs lines that you could probably throw in there, and not necessarily just the sappy ending episode lines. Although I do appreciate that one episode where JD is like gone for almost the entire episode, and other people are narrating, and at the end he's just like, and it's like that how they always wrap up at Grey's Anatomy with some vague, mildly unrelated sentence. And the way things were always never going to be the same again because of the events that have transpired today and of all days. And it's like so generic and doesn't apply to anything at all. You're just going, so you in a nutshell. Because...
Yeah. They do it all the time. But like there's also like the one that still gets to me, even though I know what's happening in the episode, is when JD turns to Cox and is like, hey, like, why do you think we're here at this park? Like, why do you think like when when it's revealed that Ben is actually dead, and it was like, oh my gosh, still gets me. So good. Scrubs is great. Very incredibly well written. What else you got? What do you got? What's one for TV?
I'll go with something akin to Scrubs, but I'm a bigger fan of this even more so than Scrubs, just because I think it's consistently better. Scrubs had its hit or miss seasons. My all-time favorite TV show by a landslide, Psych. Now I had to narrow it down. It's just like there's a lot of lines from Psych that I say
Psych
way too
is
much.
So well written, yeah.
And the thing is, Psych is a lot like Clue. There's so many jokes that you will not catch because the dialogue flies by so fast. There's one that's just like Sean is so confident that he's like solved it, and so they're like doing the happy dance, and Lassie comes around the corner. Spencer, we found Prince. Was rocking the purple rain under the pale moonlight. Fingerprints, and I'm going, that's good. But no, my favorite will always be either Gus, don't be insert whatever. Gus, don't be a gooey chocolate chip cookie. Gus, don't be this crevice in my arm. Or the one that I came up with that they always should have used, but they never did. Gus, don't be the Molina brother no one remembers. Because there's Yachty, who played for the Cardinals, Benji, who played for the Giants. Both of them won the World Series. And then I think his name was Jose, was the third one, I think. But no, my actual best line of all time from Psych that if I have one of many character flaws, it's that I use this line too often. I've heard it both ways. Like, you can't be wrong if you say I've heard it both ways. And that line is applicable in way too many situations.
I agree. Gosh, man, I really should do a rewatches of Psych.
There's some people
so good
that I keep telling they need to see that show because, y'all, if you ever want to know about me as a person or understand my humor or my personality, you will understand so much by watching Psych going, that's why he is the way he is. And I am sorry.
Yes. On a little bit more serious note. Excuse me. MASH is one of those shows I watched a lot in college. And it is known for fantastic speeches and these one or two lines off. One of them is off the top. It's not the one I have, but what's the difference between like war and hell? Hell is where all the bad people go, but there's no innocent bystanders in hell. War is chock full of them. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. The one that gets that I still think about all the time though is It's by the character. If you never watched MASH, the character's name is Henry Blake. He's a look. All I know is what they taught me at command school. There are certain rules about a war, and rule number 1 is young men die, and rule number 2 is doctors can't change rule number 1. I was like, oh no, like for a show that has a recurring character in drag, like they deal with obviously it's a show about doctors in the Vietnam War, so yeah, they're going to deal with some heavy stuff, but like, God, it goes hard, especially in the earlier seasons.
So it's only a matter of time before I bring it up. Superman and Lois is one of the best written shows on TV today.
Yeah.
And I got quite a few of them. Obviously, one of them is my favorite line from the entire show, but I got to put an asterisk on it because it's originally from the comic. They completely lifted it from the comic. But it's when, in the pilot episode, he saves a kid from getting crushed by a car, and he returns the hat to the kid, and the kid's like, cool costume. Thanks. My mom made it for me. And to me, that one line alone sums up all of Superman's persona. But putting that aside, there's some other ones that I'm just like, okay, this is from a CW show? Like, really? Like, I forget what episode it was, but it was, what can you say about leaving a place you loved? You hope it made you who you are, challenged your beliefs, pushed you out of your comfort zone, and gave you the strength to demand better. So you're prepared for what's to come. And I'm going, no, thank you. No, thank you. But the one that was going, that's how you sum it up in a nutshell, besides the thanks my mom made it for me, is he's this world's first and greatest hero, but I want you to know that he's an even better man. To which I'm going,
let's go.
Y'all, I don't know how much longer Superman and Lois is going to have a life just because of like CW going to Next Star and the DC shakeup. I want it to go on for as long as it possibly can if it stays at the quality that it's at, but it's so hard for me to believe that it's a CW show, especially this season with how it's handled its whole cancer storyline so beautifully. There's one whole episode where there's no Superman at all, and it's just family stuff, and it's just as good as everything else. But yeah, that show is written so incredibly well. But my last of my TV stuff, I only have one other one, and it's probably my favorite line from anything TV, and it's probably up there for my favorite line, period. Sherlock had some brilliant writing when it wanted to. Not always. We saw season 3 and season 4. But the season 2 finale, when it's Sherlock and Moriarty facing off, you could put that whole episode as brilliantly written. No, you're ordinary. But my favorite line from the whole episode that has stuck with me, there's 2. Every fairy tale needs a good old-fashioned villain, but the real kicker is, no, you're on the side of the angels. I may be on the side of the angels, but don't think for 1 second that I am one of them. And I'm going, oh, that's such a good line. Like, it really is. It sums up that Sherlock and Moriarty dynamic so well. But the problem is, the season 2 finale was the first Sherlock episode I ever watched. So
what was wrong with you?
Because it was just on a Sunday afternoon on BBC. So it was probably that original airing. So I was just like, that was amazing. I can't wait to see what happens next week. 3 years later, we still didn't get any information. It just kind of cop out. Now Sherlock used to have some brilliant writing. And then season 4 happened, and Sherlock has an evil sister that we never heard about. But almost anything from the Sherlock Moriarty, or like, what was it? Falling is like flying, except with a little bit more of a permanent destination. And I'm going,
yeesh. Yeah, the first season especially is so, just like anytime Sherlock goes in his little monologues explaining how he knows certain things, so good. Also one of the show that I rewatched a lot with West Wing. I had like 5 quotes, and I was like, no. All right, I'm gonna knock it down to 2 at least. So because I could see here, there's so many good lines in West Wing. I mean, it's it's Andy's. I think Andy Sorkin wrote it.
Aaron
so like
Sorkin, yeah.
Aaron Sorkin, sorry. And so it's pretty snappy dialogue because I think, but two of my favorites are no, however, just be wrong. Just stand there in your wrongness and be wrong and get used to it. So good. Or the one that honestly resonated a lot with me was, and it has meant different things to me through the years. We hold these truths to be self-evident, they said, and that all men are created equal. Strange as it may seem, that was the first time in history that anyone had ever bothered to write that down. Decisions are made by those who show up. Oh, great show. Fantastic show. Love it.
I didn't know if you'd bring up that or Martin Sheen's monologue to God.
Oh, no, because I don't want to cry on camera.
And also, I don't know if you know all that Latin.
I don't, but I could probably. It was one of those like I'll just copy paste this right here. So good. Or like his entire monologue to the lady who like has been outwardly speaking against homosexuals, or the to the church group that sent a doll to his daughter.
Yes.
With a nail in its head. Oh, dude, so good. Like Martin Sheen is
so good.
He like, and obviously I'm going to give him a lot of praise in that show, but like literally everybody in that show is on their A game, and it's so great to watch.
When the president's in the room, nobody sits.
Yes. All right, I'm going to rattle off a couple Fleabag, and then we can move on to to movie quotes. It should surprise anybody that I'm bringing up Fleabag. It was a show that I had been wanting to watch for a long time, a few years ago, and I finally watched it, and it is now one of my favorite shows I think I've ever seen. I cannot recommend it enough. Let's see. Don't Make Me an Optimist. You will ruin my life. People are all we've got, so grab the night by its nipples and go flirt with someone. Chic means boring, just don't tell the French. And I said the last one I'll bring up is it's towards the end of the show, but it's during a wedding, and there's the priest that we've been getting to know throughout the entire show, who is played oddly enough by the guy that plays Moriarty.
Yep.
Who is consistently everything that I see him in. He is absolutely incredible.
Andrew Scott's just the best.
So good. But his little speech he's giving, like, you know how like pastors give sermons for
that thing that they do.
During weddings they give their little sermon. So he's doing his little blurb thought or whatever, and he's like, so it turns out it's quite hard to come up with something original to say about love, but I've had to go. Love is awful. It's painful, frightening. It makes you doubt yourself, judge yourself, distance yourself from other people in your life, makes you selfish, makes you creepy, makes you obsessed with your hair, makes you cruel, makes you say and do things you never thought you would do. It's all any of us want, and it's hell when we get there. So it's no wonder it's something that we don't want to do on our own. And I was like, oh,
dang.
Let's go.
That's really good.
Dude, I know I've recommended the show to you so many times, but like genuinely like sit down with Heather and just go through. I think it's like 10 episodes, and it's only one season. And from what it sounds like, honestly, I don't think we need another season with how it ends. But Fleabag is so good. So good.
You got any more TV stuff?
Nope. That is, wait, let me double check just to make sure. Oh, I have one more. I don't have it all written out though, because it's a great speech, and it is, excuse me, I have not seen the show, but I've seen the scene a whole lot. I have not seen Ted Lasso, but I have heard fantastic things about it. There is a scene where he is playing darts, and he does this.
I know that
speech.
scene.
The speech about being curious, not judgmental. Oh, so good. So like if they asked me anything, they'd be like, "Have you played a lot of darts, Ted?" Boom.
Every Sunday since I was 13 with my dad.
Until he passed away when I was 4. Like, oh, such a good, yeah. There, and apparently Ted Lasso was covered in monologues like that, and so it just, yeah. I had to bring up Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I know there's a great Ted Lasso one about at first being scared of a dog, and then that owner's initially died, and then so he adopts the dog, and then eventually has to put the dog down, and you're just like, this is supposed to be a funny show about a man that doesn't know soccer. Come on now.
Yes. Oh, so good.
So when it comes to movies, I have not a lot of superhero stuff actually, but I have some superhero stuff, some horror stuff, some action movies, believe it or not, some dramas, and some comedies. Where are we going first here, Josh?
Let's get our action ones out of the way.
So this one, people might be surprised that I'm talking about this movie because the movie itself is not very good. But the movie's known for one line and one line alone because this line is so freaking good from the movie Street Fighter.
Okay.
Do you know what the line is, Josh?
I don't actually.
So M. Bison, the main villain in this movie, he is talking to I don't know the character's name. I think it's Chun-Li, who's played by Mulan, essentially, in one of her earlier roles. And so he's like being all cocky, smug and whatnot. And so he goes, "The day M. Bison came to your village was the most important day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday." And I'm just going, jeez. Right?
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's great. That's so good.
Like, that is straight up cold-blooded. Like, the movie's not great. But Raul Julia is just going, nah, man. This line will live forever because that's so cold-blooded. Also, this movie's not known for its dialogue. I still love it. Mission Impossible Fallout. I wouldn't say there's any lines that are particularly exceptional, but there's one that I remember when I first heard in the theater, and every time since, I'm just going, oh, okay. That catches me off guard because it's not where you think it's going. It's right before the Halo jump. Tom Cruise is talking to Henry Cavill's character, and he's just giving him some advice. He's just going, and if you don't pull your parachute, the last thing that'll be going through your head is your kneecaps. And I'm going,
yes,
jeez. Because you think he's talking about something else. You're just going, oh, no. And in that moment, it's not Ethan Hunt talking to the character. It's Tom Cruise, who's done all of these jumps, actually telling you this is what will happen if you don't listen. Going, that is a sharp, quick dialogue that if you're not paying attention, you don't fully grasp how savage and descriptive that is. Where is it? Oh, yeah. My last action one is from this year, and I believe we've already talked about it on the podcast, John Wick 4. You know,
Yay.
A franchise known for its dialogue, and in no way, shape, or form is it more just known for its action and violence.
I don't know, man. That's some dialogue from the first three that are pretty good.
But specifically on John Wick 4, there's one line that as soon as I heard it, I'm going, that is a line that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life because it's so written and so executed. Yeah. It is when John is hiding out at is it Osaka Continental?
Yeah, the Osaka Hotel.
Yeah. And so he tries to apologize to a friend. He's just like, I'm sorry I brought all this upon you, this unnecessary weight or whatever. And the owner of the Osaka Japan hotel goes, friendship means little when it's convenient. And at first you're just like, that's cool. And then you really think about it, you're just like, dang, that really hits hard. Like, that's a great line. Because are you actually friends with someone if you're only there when it's easy? Like,
yeah.
This is from John Wick, the puppy killing movies.
Okay, maybe not define it like that because it makes it sound like I kill a puppy in every single one. Yeah, no, that was so. John Wick has a lot of lines like that, though, especially the fourth one. The whole discussion about what do you want on your gravestone. He's just like a good husband. I was like, dang, dude. Okay, yeah, so good. Let's see. If we're talking action, technically, I guess this is an action film. It's not about how you get. It is not about how you hit speech in Rocky 6.
I have that one as well. I have that one in my drama.
So
not
good.
Action,
I'm not gonna sit here and say word for word because I honestly the scene speaks for itself. Yeah, I know it's a surprise, but I'm not going to
we
do
both could say it word for word.
There was a time when I literally knew it word for word. I just caught myself. I almost did it. But yeah, that's a fantastic one. I don't think this will probably not be on your list, but it is a speech, or at least a line from the speech that has stuck with me for so long. But I don't love Braveheart, but the speech at the end where he was like, they could take our lives, but they could never take our freedom. Like, so good. Oh, God, I gotta go watch Braveheart.
Now, I'm going to do my 2 horror ones. First of all, because it's me, we have to talk about Halloween in some capacity.
Of course.
And the lines that just basically sum up the entire franchise of like what it should be at its core when Dr. Loomis is talking to Sheriff Brackett and describing Michael Myers. I saw this 6-year-old boy blank staring at the wall, looking past the wall, looking through the wall, waiting for this night. And then the line always sticks with me, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. And you're just going, put that on the poster. I don't care that it says the night he came home. The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. Put that instead. And then, all the sequel movies blatantly show you his eyes through the mask and all.
Love it.
And then Halloween ends, it's just like, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. So the eyes are what's magic. So what if he looks at another dude and that's what turns Corey evil? I'm like, shut up! That's not what that line means. Stop making bad choices with the Halloween franchise. But that line, how Donald Pleasance delivers it, just perfect. Halloween will always make bad choices, and I will still be unable to quit it.
We will always be here to support them. What about literally any line of dialogue that Anthony Hopkins says in Silence of the Lambs? Literally everything. He's got like 15 minutes of screen time, but like literally chews up all of the scenery every time.
And some of the cops, too.
Yeah, I'm having dinner with an old friend. Oh, so good.
I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Oh, dude.
Do you have any other horrors? Because I have one, but it'll segue me to my comedies.
I really don't, actually.
So my other horror segues me perfectly to my comedy. So we'll do comedy next, because The Mummy fits perfectly for both horror and comedy. And if there's one line from The Mummy that my family still quotes to this day quite a bit. Hey, O'Connell! Looks to me like I got all the horses! Hey, Benny! Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river! Every time, I will always laugh because my family will stop whatever they're doing and quote that whenever it's on, and it'll pop up in just casual conversation. To me, it's not even that funny of a line, but it's just, it works for some reason. Like, it's not necessarily the best written line. It's pretty straightforward, whether it's Brendan Fraser's delivery or the reaction of Benny afterwards just looking like a complete numbskull. That line just, it works for me. On the wrong side of the river. Comedies now.
Yes.
We gonna talk about Airplane or not?
Yeah, of course. Of course we're gonna talk about Airplane.
Do you have Airplane?
Of course I do.
What Airplane line do you have?
I out of all the ones that I have
one.
Yeah, I picked one. I am serious, but don't call me Shirley.
That's it. That's it.
So good. So good.
That's it. The funny thing is, we know somebody that says that a lot, and so whenever they say it, we're making eye contact with somebody else because they immediately, like, our brains connect and just like,
yeah,
Shirley, and that third person doesn't realize they said it. But yeah. Are you? Shirley must be joking. No, Shirley must be. You can't be serious. I am serious.
I am serious.
And don't call me Shirley. There's so many good lines in Airplane, though.
There's that one. Or
you like gladiator movies?
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Or, I mean, to be fair, I don't know if that's the one that I was thinking of works as a line, or if it's physical comedy of, oh man, I still have a drinking problem.
Yes, so good.
But that's
Oh
not
my
really the
gosh.
line. It's
No,
what
it's
follows
not.
after it. Or,
Yes.
the one joke that can never go in today. Excuse me, I speak jive. As the old lady comes.
So gross. I hate that joke, but I love it at the same time. It
Like-
only works. It only works because it's the Brady Bunch mom saying it. It's the only reason it works. Or it's like, oh, here, what do you make of this? Oh, I can make a brooch. I can make an airplane. I can. Oh, it's so good. Gosh, I love airplane. The second one is okay. It's not as funny, but like, just like, and the way that they turn phrases that we say all the time into jokes is so good. Chef's kiss.
What's another comedy that you got?
I mean, there's you look pretty tonight, Denise. What? I said you look pretty.
From
Hot
what?
Rod.
Of
From
course,
Hot
of
Rod.
course.
I'm gonna get the money for that surgery, and we're gonna get you that new heart, and then I'm gonna kick your ass.
That sentence just sounds like Josh's humor in a nutshell.
Oh,
Let's go with one that I know is not on Josh's list at all, because I don't know if he's seen this one or not. I can't remember. One of my all-time favorite comedies, Better Off Dead, also known as
yeah.
absolutely a movie you can't make to this day. Because the premise is a dude's girlfriend breaks up with him, so he decides nothing's worth it anymore, so he tries to kill himself. But every time he tries, he chickens out, and as he's chickening out, something happens that makes the situation worse. So like he tries to hang himself in the family's garage, and so as he's about to step off the ledge, he's like, no, this is dumb. I have so much to live for. But then his mom opens the garage door and just knocks him off the thing. He starts hanging himself without her noticing whatsoever. But no, there's two lines in Better Off Dead that I'm always just like, perfect. It's better if you don't have any context for these. So I'm not going to give them because they're better out of context. Richie. Oh, not Richie. Ricky. There we go. Ricky. Sorry your mom blew up. It's great. And then the line that you absolutely cannot put in movies nowadays, but still makes me laugh so hard every single time. It's a shame people be throwing away a perfectly good white boy. Movie's great. Or someone snorts snow. This is pure snow. I can't feel my right arm. He's moving his left arm. You know what the street value is of this mountain?
Is that the one with the kid that's like riding around?
$2.
$2.
And then you've
That's
got
the only quote I know from that movie.
There's like these two Asian guys. One of them is the bad guy from Karate Kid 2, Chosen. But there's two Asian guys that just drive around in this old station wagon that only really learn their English from Wide World of Sports and Howard Cosell. So they're just going, and this, a most momentous of occasions. Lane, with his new car, can he win the race? And it's like so ridiculous. And also, Dan Schneider is in it as an actor before, he would go on to do Nickelodeon and other weird things. It's just weird to see, oh, Dan Schneider's in this as a creepy dude. Good to see him playing against type for once.
Got him.
Screw Dan Schneider.
Is this a comedy? Kind of. Okay, I've got a couple comedy adjacents. They're like traditionally, like they're okay, comedy adjacents. You would think Holes is a comedy adjacent, right? Like,
No,
it's like,
that's like a drama adjacent.
okay, but it's very funny. I guess I don't know. Drama
Josh
adjacent,
loves
fine.
the misery of children.
I do. Okay. Okay. Then yeah, I don't have any more comedies. I've got.
Then I have one more comedy.
Hit him.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh God.
And I have to stick to just two because or else I would quote the whole movie. Uh-oh. Never mind. I'll go 3. Crapper was full. Oh, that one's great. That cat had 9 lives. You just spent them all. That one's great. Or my favorite, because it's so messed up and just so wrong, and that's why I love it. Ruby Sue, her eyes, they bent back to normal. She falls down a well. Her eyes go cross. She gets butt kicked by a mule. They go back to normal. I don't know. I'm like, it's just the right amount of wrong, and I love it so much. It's one of those annual traditions for my family.
I have seen it like once, maybe, and that's it. So you bring up that quote about a cat with 9 lives. It transitions me into my first.
Don't say
drama.
9 lives with Kevin Spacey.
No, we're going to talk about Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, baby.
Okay.
Dude, first of all, I don't know how. Sorry, I do know how you haven't watched this movie yet.
It's on Peacock. I'll get around to it.
Dude, it is so good, so good. The description the best description of it I've seen is it's Puss in Boots meets Logan, because the body counts are about the same, oddly enough. So good. I mean, there's a lot I can choose from. I mean, like the moment when the cricket finds out that Jack is a terrible human, I'm like, oh, you're an irredeemable monster. Yeah. Well, yeah, it took you long enough. Bam. Oh, so good. The one I want to talk about though is it's towards the end of the film. Is finally the face down between Death and Puss in Boots, and Puss sits there and says, like, I know I can never defeat you, Lobo, but I will never stop fighting for this life. Oh, it's so good. I can't like, or there's
I will get around to it. I will.
There's stuff that Goldilocks says this super good. Such a good movie. That just hit me with the cats, the 9 lives one, and I was like, oh, I can transition this.
So I got 2 superhero ones before we finish out with the dramas, because I think, dramas is where they really focus on good script writing.
I mean, obviously.
Good script writing is not typically associated with Zack Snyder movies, but Man of Steel has one of the greatest monologues of all time. You know why? Because they just lifted it directly from a much better comic of All-Star Superman. But that is Jor-El's speech that he gives to Clark of, you will give the people an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders. Not that that's directly lifted, minus like 1 or 2 sentence changes from All-Star Superman. It's still a fantastic line that promised good things for that Superman. And I still like Man of Steel for the most part, minus, Pa Kent advocating child murder and the complete and utter destruction of Metropolis. You watch. James Gunn will purposely have Superman take out whoever the villain is somewhere else. I killed Josh.
I was taking a sip of some water and you hit me with the child murder line.
I'm sorry, but Pa Kent absolutely says he doesn't care about children. I know some people are like, no, he said he doesn't know how he would handle the situation either. No, Pa Kent just straight up is like, I don't know. Let him die. It's fine. It's like, what was I supposed to do? Let him die? Maybe. No, Pa, that's the wrong answer. Social services, take this one away. That's the wrong move there, Chief. And then obviously, again, I need a button for this one because I mentioned this line specifically all the time. But we transition from Superman, the previous Superman, to the guy that will give us the new Superman, James Gunn, and the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
No line from a comic book movie has ever hit me harder than the ending of the Suicide Squad. And Taika Waititi, of all things. As much as I will always hate Love and Thunder, I will always thank Taika Waititi for his delivery of this excellent line that I believe was still written by James Gunn. Ratcatcher and his daughter hang on top of one of the buildings. Forget where, somewhere in Paris, but she's trying to understand why he does what he does. Why rats, Dad? Because rats are the most lowly and despised creatures in the world. If they have a purpose, so must we all. And I'm just going, this is the same movie that has John Cena and tidy whities. And a lonely shark man with no friends looking on longingly at a couple wishing he could be like them. Like,
Ish.
people seem to
Yeah.
think the Suicide Squad is just like kitty humor and violence, which it does have that, but honestly, it's the most heart of any of the DC movies too. Of just like, we're gonna actually put some serious emotional weight into this, or in a broader context of the movie, not like the best written, but in the broader context of the movie, Peacemaker, what a joke. Oh, that's such a good line in the context of the movie. But still, the why rats has still like crawled in my brain like the rats to Starro and just stayed in my brain of going,
Yeesh.
this is supposed to be a goofy movie. You're not supposed to just make me feel things like this. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Dude, the rat catcher line, Peacemaker pleading with Flag to just give me the thing so I don't have to kill you, please. Like, it's like, don't make me do that. So good. Suicide Squad is so good. Oddly enough, I don't have any superhero movies on this just because some
They're
of them
not
are
always
okay,
written the best.
No, they're not. And I think maybe that's something that small side note, have enjoyed a lot about James Gunn's brand of superhero movies is they like actually have good writing and good lines and stuff like that. Like, say what you will about Volume 3 for Guardians, but there's some banger monologues in that movie. Just Gamora's outburst, like I don't want to spoil it too much because it just came out, but like there's so many good lines in those movies. And I'm really happy I'm so excited to have him make DC movies now. Let's go. All right, let's start. Since I guess I already mentioned it, I'll start off dramas with holes. I'm tired, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad.
Yeah, say easy, boom, done. Also, I can fix that. Come on.
That is like the greatest, like,
it's so
I'll
good.
I'll be like the young people. That's the greatest Riz of all time. I used that correctly, right?
Yes, you're like the kids now, Nathan.
Well, to be fair, if Dule Hill said that to just about anybody,
dude.
It's Dule Hill, guys. It's Gus. We bring it full circle back to Psych. And even then, Psych had a holes reference once. Like, they did the dinosaur episode, and they're just like, what's that one movie with all the holes and Shia LaBeouf? And of course, Gus is the one that doesn't get the reference, which is going, wink, wink.
Ha ha ha. Yeah, no, holes is great. Those are the ones that stuck out to me the most, I think, though. I'd probably have to go back and rewatch. I need to go back and rewatch it. It's been a long time.
So how many more do you got? Because I have 3.
I have 3.
Oh. Why do you say technically?
Because one of them's a grouping.
Like a couple lines together?
Like lines from a movie series.
Okay.
That are hard to not talk about.
How to Train Your Dragon lines?
Lord of the Rings lines.
Oh. Okay.
Because like, come on, dude. Like, I'll start there. Let's just do that. I'll get those out of the way. Because like it's dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door. Fantastic. It's not about it's all we have to decide is what we do with the time that is given to us.
Oh, that one's one of my favorites.
So good. This is there is good in this world, Mr. Frodo. It's worth fighting for. Which is like a good line on its own, but it is a fantastic line for the pinnacle of the monologue that Sam gives right there. Personally, I love the I can't carry it for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. But I think one of the best ones that is absolutely one of the pinnacles of the movie series is I never thought I'd die side by side by an elf. What about side by side with a friend? I was like, yes, bring it on. So good. Well, I'd be remiss if we were gonna talk about movie lines. I had to bring up Lord of the Rings.
Oh, it's so good. And then the whole what is heaven like monologue. I won't go into that whole spiel again because I talked about that in our best movie speeches, but that one always gets to me. We talk about Lord of the Rings a lot. Let's talk about one that I talk about a lot. I haven't talked about it in a little bit here, but I still talk about it all the time. Iron Giant, which
There you go.
You love it as a kid. You watch it now as an adult going, no joke, this could seriously be one of the best written kids movies of all time and one of the heaviest because I couldn't think of one line, so I just went with two lines. Obviously, the most iconic line in the entire movie is "You are who you choose to be," which I'm just going.
Yes.
That's such a. That's the epitome of everything. I need an Iron Giant cameo in James Gunn's Superman, please, because once again, I die on the hill. The Iron Giant is the best Superman movie we've gotten so far.
It's like you made a video about it or something.
Yes, one of my better videos and better performing videos, so y'all should check it out. But no, there's the "You are who you choose to be." I remember that one as a kid, and that one is just iconic. But there's one that I didn't remember as much as a kid, and I watch now with an adult just going, this hits so hard and does not belong in the rest of this movie with how mature and hard-hitting it is. It's after the giant has seen the deer get shot, and so they're just chilling in the not garage, in the junkyard. And Hogarth says, "It's wrong to kill, but it's not wrong to die." And I'm just going, hearing that from like a 12-year-old kid who, again, my own internal logic could be completely wrong, but I think his dad died fighting off in the war.
Yeah.
Because there's very much this like Cold War paranoia. I firmly believe that his dad died in battle. Like, there's probably a reason why they're renting out a room in that house. I don't think the dad left. I think he straight up died, which, you know, if there's a subgenre that Josh and I absolutely live for movies, it's kids with missing dead dads. Big Hero 6, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Iron Giant, Brother Bear.
Technically Tarzan.
Tarzan. I mean, both his human dad and his ape dad die.
Yep.
But
oh man, yeah. This Iron Giant's good. I oddly enough do not have the iconic line for Treasure Planet on this list.
You got the makings of greatness in you.
And on that day, I'll be catching some of the light be coming off you.
Oh,
so good.
Oh, you mean?
I love how I said I don't have it on my list, but then
I'll have it instead. Or, you know, the classic line, "Go Delbert, go Delbert."
Go Delbert.
That was in every single one of the trailers, to the point of just going, stop it. Just stop.
It's not as I love that it's like that line is like there and then gone. It is not even a big part of the movie at all.
Oh, you mean like how they used Ben in all the marketing? That Ben was going to be in a movie with a lot of Martin Short, and you're just like, well, if you've read Treasure Island, you know Ben really is not in the story very much, so why are you advertising this thing?
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
Like, it's whatever. Morph was better anyway.
Morph is the best boy. I'm surprised it's taken us this long to bring it up. Shawshank Redemption has some fantastic lines. I know it's one of your favorite movies. I think the one I picked is easily one of the best. Get busy living or get busy dying.
Oh, okay.
That's to me one of the best lines in the movie. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, but yeah.
I know that's probably the most iconic one, but the one I always go with is, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever truly dies." And I'm going, keep preaching, Andy. And also,
So
I love,
good.
I think it's the Family Guy sketch where Peter is Andy and Cleveland is Red. And so he's just like, "Remember, if we're ever going to break out of prison one day, we got to meet at the island of Montenegro and whatever." And so fast forward a couple years, Cleveland finds the brick. "Remember, we got to meet at that island I told you about." What was it called? And so you come over to Peter just going, oh, is that him? No, that's somebody else. Oh, is that him? Is that him? Oh, no. Like, I've always kind of wondered, that was a one-off conversation that they had ever since I saw it on Family Guy, going, yeah, they only really ever mentioned that once. What if Morgan Freeman did forget about what the place is called and just leaves Andy there?
What if Morgan Freeman goes to like Mexico and like Costa Rica and all that? He's just wandering around South America, and like when he actually finds Andy is actually the result of like 6 months worth of searching.
It's like, your directions were not very clear.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Oh, so good.
This movie is absolutely a drama, but the line itself is comedic. it's one of my all-time favorite movies, but I don't talk about it on the podcast enough. We talked about Aaron Sorkin earlier with West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
It should come as no shock. He wrote Moneyball, and I think Moneyball is one of the best written movies. It's so well done. It's adapted from the book, and a lot of the dialogue is just ripped directly from the book. But there's one line that is in all the trailers that actually wasn't in the book, and it's the most iconic line from Moneyball that I still laugh at today. I'm going, I use this way too much in my everyday life. There are rich teams, and then there's poor teams, and then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. I'm like, that is applicable in a lot of situations.
Yes, it is.
As, you know, I'm a Rockies fan, and also a DC fan, and also just life in general. If something's bad, just go with the, it's good, it's bad, 50 feet of crap, then there's our situation right now. It's great.
Yep. Never seen Moneyball. It's on the list.
I think you'd really like that one. You don't need to like baseball to get it.
Too. Yep, I think I would love it too. All right, boss. I got one more.
Same.
Rock on. What? So this is might surprise you, might not. It is my favorite rom-com of all time.
When Harry Met Sally.
Dang. All right.
I know you.
Okay.
I know you.
Fair enough. Yeah. When Harry Met Sally is easily one of my favorite romantic comedies of all time.
It's the diner scene, isn't it?
No. It is the line at the end when you realize that you want to spend the rest of your life with someone. You want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. It's like, so good. There's a lot of really, really interesting lines in there, especially from Billy Crystal. He's insanely funny and effortlessly entertaining in that movie. But yeah, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. So good.
That is a very good line. I didn't intend for this one to go on last, but I think it's a good closing out chapter. Next time Josh is in my presence, I'm trying to think of a better way to play that. It's just next time I see Josh, I have like a list of things I'm just like, I need to force Josh to watch this. And one of them is Ed Wood.
I'm just like imagining you like duct taping me to a chair and be like,
it's like Hostel.
I know that you got tickets to HHN, but I tricked you. Ed Wood.
We're going to watch a live stream of HHN instead just to torture you.
It's like a robot chicken.
No, I didn't intend to say this one for last, but I think it works as a closer. Ed Wood is easily my favorite Tim Burton movie by a wide margin. It's also probably my favorite Johnny Depp performance. And there's a lot of great lines in it that I think deserve honorable mentions. Like they're just filming randomly in the street and they see some cops and they're like, cops, we don't have a permit. Run! And I'm just like, anybody that's made a low budget movie absolutely knows that feeling. Or what is it? I don't make movies, I make crap. It's like, does it have a script? It's got a poster. I'm like, there's a lot of great lines. Dude,
that's good.
It's right up your you would love it.
That's pretty good.
But one of my favorites is just going, it works as both the joke and completely serious. Filmmaking isn't about the tiny details, it's about the big picture. Like
yeah.
Yes and no.
That's how that works.
Yes and no. And then they actually do put some genuine emotion in Ed Wood when they want to. So visions are worth fighting for. Why spend your life making someone else's dreams?
That's good. That is tasty. That's really tasty. Oh, say that again.
Visions are worth fighting for. Why spend your life making someone else's dreams?
Oh, let's go.
Don't let your memes be memes.
No, my life is a meme.
But yeah, it doesn't get talked about nearly as much nowadays that people talk about like Edward Scissorhands or whatever else. I think Ed Wood is easily Tim Burton's best. And there's a lot to love on that. But what did you guys think? What are some of your all-time favorite movie lines? They can be funny, they can be serious, they can be from movies, they can be from TV. Whatever your thoughts, let us know down in the comments below what it's like came from you guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. And subscribe to us on the main YouTube channel. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.